All right, so this is a requested video. As you guys know, I did some other setups showing a beginner setup and an intermediate setup. And this right here is my pro setup, which is my most expensive setup. And I'm gonna show you guys what I use, how I got it hooked up. Let's go ahead and check it out. Bolo! Now, before we get started, the MPC and the keyboards can be purchased off of Zounds.com. So if you guys need to get some equipment, make sure you guys go ahead and click my link in the description and head over to Zounds. They have a whole bunch of stuff on the site, and they have a whole bunch of stuff on the site that requires no credit or background check, meaning you can order it, they'll ship it to you, and then you can just make monthly installments. All you would just need is a credit or debit card hooked to the account, and then you can just make monthly payments like that. Now, it's not everything on the site, but it is a whole bunch of stuff on the site that you guys can get right now. Click my link in the description and head over to Zounds.com and get you some gear today. So yeah, this is my pro setup I have right here. Of course, you guys really can't see it because it's blurry in the background. But what I'm gonna do is give you a tour of my professional setup. And in that way, you guys can see if this is something that you guys may want to do, or if you guys may think this might be a little overkill. But either way, let's go ahead and go through the tour of this setup, and then I can show you guys what I got and how I got it hooked up. So let's go ahead and get to it. All right, so this is the whole setup right here, as you guys can see, and I have some more stuff over here. And let's go ahead and talk about the synthesizers first, and then we'll kind of work our way into the MPC and how we connect everything. So the first thing we have right here is the Roland Phantom EX7 right here. And this thing is incredible, has a ton of sounds, and very easy to use with the MPC. I love all the new Roland products. I love all of the sounds, and I love how you can use all of the sounds in every single keyboard. Okay, you can use the Roland Cloud sounds in here, and you can customize your sounds and make your own user banks in here. Everything is super easy to set up. It's maybe like 2 things you have to set up when you first get this board for it to work in standalone mode. And once you get those 2 things out the way, it works perfectly with the MPC. And I have this actually routed directly into the MPC. And yeah, I have everything being controlled by the MPC, but this board is very good, and has a ton of sounds in it, and it sounds really good. The output of this board sounds really good. And even though that I do have this hooked up via USB, I have no issues with like that USB signal issue where you hear, you know, that crackling or the USB sound in it. You don't hear none of that. And this thing is just incredible. Now, this thing has 16 MIDI tracks. And the way I kind of use this is I use this for all of my basic, you know, MIDI stuff. So all of my keyboards, organs, keys, synthesizers, stuff like that. I put these on individual tracks, and I pretty much just make the beat like that. So this is probably the workhorse of the whole system, but this thing does a lot. Okay, so pretty much I would say probably maybe about 60% of the sounds when I make beats come out of this board right here. So exceptional board. Like, you don't even need an MPC to use this, but I like to use it because it's just better for like sequencing and everything. And this thing is incredible. Okay, great board. Now, the next board I have right here is the Roland Juno X. This right here is my baby right here. Love this board. Love this board. And as you guys know, I had the Jupiter X. Love the Jupiter X, but this right here is a little bit smaller, does pretty much the same thing. It's not the Jupiter X, but does pretty much the same thing and sounds incredible. And this thing right here is a beast when it comes to combining sounds and really just making sounds that nobody else has. Now, I know a lot of you guys are thinking, well, if you already have all of the Roland Cloud sounds and pretty much the Roland Phantom has the same sounds as this right here, the Juno X. The thing about the Juno X is if you're trying to make sounds on the fly and you're trying to build sounds that nobody else has, you have all of the controls right here at your fingertips. This is what makes the Juno X and the Jupiter X very, very, very good. But I like the Juno X because, like I said before, it's a little bit smaller, it's much cheaper, and you pretty much get the same thing. Now, even though the Jupiter X has more controls on it, this right here is very dope. And like I said before, it is much cheaper, much cheaper than that Jupiter X. And it has a terrific sound inside of this Roland Juno. As you guys can see, it has all the controls, the arpeggiators, the LFOs, the oscillators, the high pass filters, the regular filter, the amp, the envelope, the effects, and you can build sounds in here. And how I use this is what I do is I take the sounds, and even though this only has 4 MIDI parts, I will usually take 2 MIDI parts and combine those sounds to create one sound and use that on one MIDI channel. So essentially, I just use this for 2 MIDI channels. And another way I use this is sometimes I combine sometimes 3 to 4 sounds up into one MIDI channel. And then it just makes this huge lush sound that I need to like be like that dominant sound in the track. And it just really just does a really good job with that. And plus it sounds really good. Now, the only downside about this is it has basically 5 MIDI tracks in it, but it has 4 melodic MIDI tracks. The 5th MIDI track is a drum track. But man, to build sounds and to create your own stuff and for the price, this thing is incredible. The next thing we have over here is the classic, the Motif ES Rack. Man, I sold mine a long time ago, but I had to get another one. And I picked this up off of reverb.com. I got this for like a little over 500 bucks. This thing is incredible. Incredible. Still sounds good. Love the pianos, the strings, the bells, the horns. Everything in here sounds incredible. I wish the newer Yamaha boards worked as good as this, because all you have to do is pretty much set this up, and I'll have this routed through USB MIDI. So all you have to do is to set this up and it's ready to go. Ready to go. And you guys know this is a classic instrument, and pretty much all the controls is right here on the front. Very easy to use. And if you're looking for a rack mounted unit that has some really good sounds in it, and you can hook this up via USB. Now, the last piece that I have on here is the MPCX Special Edition. This controls everything. This is the brains of the whole operation. I have everything hooked up via USB MIDI. So everything is being controlled like that. I do all the sequencing in here. I track everything in here. And then from there, I'll sometimes just mix everything inside of here, or I'll route everything into the computer. And I'm going to show you guys how I route everything in a second. But this controls everything. I'm using the MPC 3.0 beta software, and it's working pretty cool. You know, there's a few things I hope that they'll fix in the beta, especially the MSB and LSB stuff in here. But this is what controls everything. And this is the brains of the operation. And you guys know I make a ton of videos on this, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this. But this is what controls all of this. Now, how do I have all this hooked up? As you guys can see, I don't have any mixers, anything. I do have a Tascam mixer, but I don't have that hooked up right now. I have everything just going directly into the MPC, especially for you guys who want to know how to route all this stuff directly into your MPC. So basically, I have the Yamaha output going into the Phantom's input. So I actually have the Yamaha running into the Phantom, and then I have the Phantom output running into the input 1 and 2 on the MPC right here. So they have a direct in on the Phantom to where I can just run this Yamaha into it, and I get the sound of the Yamaha and of the Phantom together running into the MPC. So it's a cool way of how to do it. It's very easy to do it. Some people never really figured out how to do it, but it's very easy to run it through. I'll probably do another video showing you guys how to do that, or do like a short, because I know somebody's going to ask me how to do it, because the input is not where you would think it would be. But it works very well. And then you just basically just running it through the board into the MPC. Now, for the Roland Juno, I basically have that running directly into 3 and 4 of the MPC. And let me show you guys the back of this real quick. So these are all the hookups going into the MPC right here. They're going into, you know, 1 and 2, and it goes into 3 and 4, and then that's the output right there. And then this is all the USB stuff, and I have all that connected right there through a USB hub that I got off of Amazon. And that's pretty much my whole setup right here. And as you guys can see in the back, these are all the hookups and stuff that I have going through. And as you guys can see on the bottom, these are the hookups I got going through on the back of there as well. So a lot of cords, a lot of cables, but that's how I have everything hooked up. And the cool thing about it is when you hook this stuff up in here, you don't have to go through and like go to sample and turn on, you know, the audio in. When you're using the MPC, like the X's or whatever, it just automatically does it. Automatically does it, and you are pretty much done. Now, I know some of you guys are thinking, okay, what about the output? What if you want to run this into the computer? Well, I'll take the output of this, and then I run this into my Manley, right? Has 4 inputs in here. I use the first 2 right here, and I run everything through the Manley just to give it that good analog preamp signal before I run it into dun 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 the Apollo X6, which just made a video about the Apollo, but you know, I still got the X6, sounds very good. And you can run it into pretty much all of the newer interfaces and stuff like that, because these newer interfaces sound very good. But you know, I've been using this for a very long time. Don't really have any issues. The DSP stuff I might have a little issue with, but sounds good. And this is how I run everything into my 13-inch MacBook that's fully blown out. But yeah, this is pretty much the whole setup right here. And I do about 90% of my productions standalone using this setup right here. And I don't know what else I need to tell you the truth. I don't think I need nothing else. With all the effects inside of the MPC and with all of the sounds that I have and with the analog processing and stuff like that, like this is pretty much everything I need. All right, so that is the tour of my professional setup. And I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you guys kind of understood how I had everything hooked up. But either way, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys learned something from it. And like I always say, peace out.